welcome to my first watch me work day, guys. I have to say, since this was my first time doing this, the angles are all over the place. I think I just needed to do it once to figure it out, and we're just gonna get better from here, you know what I'm saying? But we're starting out with a gel manicure. I do builder gel on her, and her previous set was just a all over kind of like dark green set. I believe I'm using a Melody Susie 5-in-1 extra coarse carbide bit, and then I'm also using the Nails and Blinks drill. During this part of the set, I'm usually asking them what we're gonna do, if we're changing the nail shape, if we're gonna shorten or keep the length, and then I'm really trying to look over if I need to debulk any nail based on the shape or anything like that. I don't fully completely debulk gel. I watch a lot of other nail techs kind of bring down that previous builder gel to a thin layer and then rebuild it during the set. I don't do that mainly because I only use clear builder gel on all my gel clients. I don't do different nude colors, which I feel like is the main reason of why you kind of debulk and do a thin layer. That way you could cover it with the next nude color that you're gonna use. But since I'm just using clear, obviously I don't want the nail to be too thick, so if I think that adding builder gel onto that gel that's already there is going to make the nail too thick, that's why I'll debulk a little bit, but I won't debulk to the point where it's like a super thin layer. Dependent on the client and the shape that they're wanting, I will either shape as my next step before applying the gel, and then I won't shape after that, or I'll just go straight into prep and gel, and then I'll go in and file after. Like I said, it's just really dependent on what the shape is going to be. I kind of tend to do that second version with square shape, but she wanted to go back to rounded shape, so I like to shape before that because applying the gel afterwards I feel like just gives me like a nice smooth round or almond shape, as opposed to square. You're gonna get the best square shape by shaping after the gel application. For my prep, I scrub 70% alcohol as the first wipe down of getting rid of the dust, and then I go into the dehydrator, and then I do use the Orally Builder in a Bottle primer. I don't remember the exact name right now, but and then for my gel I use the Builder in a Bottle clear. Because she already has that previous gel as well, I'm not doing like a layer curing that and doing a slip layer and then adding builder into that and building the nail. I'm just going straight into adding my slip layer and then adding a little dollop of gel and smoothing that out with my liner brush, and then I do a full 60-second cure for all those. Next, I'm going in with our nail design. She did tell me that she wanted a kind of Christmassy set, but since her past set was green, the inspo that she showed me was a green set. So I told her, why don't we do the same design, but kind of go with like a icy blue, because I'm not going to see her again until the first week of January. So I feel like a blue goes with like a winter theme, which will be nice for Christmas and New Year's, but into the new year she won't feel like, oh, I still have my Christmas set on. And like I said, since I do use clear, I do use a nude gel for the colors, or for the nails that are gonna either have like a nude background or French or anything like that. That's what I do with all my builder gel sets. This set has an ombre, and as I've already mentioned, I don't use airbrush, so I use these airbrush powders. The blue can sometimes come off a little bit strong on the nude color though, so I put a little bit of a white base of the airbrush powder, and then I ombre that with the blue to kind of give it a little bit smoother transition into that nude color. Depending on that nude color that I put down, I could have also ombreed maybe like a little bit of a cocoa brown and then ombre that blue into the nude, but I feel like the white was a little bit easier with this one. The reason is that blues are just so cool toned, so it's a lot harder to blend into nude colors. It's the same thing like if you do a eyeshadow, that's really dark blue, it's going to be a little bit harder to blend because it's such a cool tone. You got to add some warmth back into that to transition into the nude. Those powders do live like a little bit of a gritty texture, so I'll just put a base coat on top. That way I can do my design without any problem of the gel catching onto any of that texture. And she did let me know that she bumped her nail in the lamp, so I just took my nail file and buffed out that small little lift that it had, but it still had the color there, so I didn't really need to do anything. I just wiped off the dust with a alcohol wipe. This set does have snowflakes, and I find that the easiest way for me to do snowflakes is to do a dot in the middle and then 2 dots on top, 2 dots on bottom, 2 dots on the side, and then in between those there's going to be 1 dot in like the corner of that first dot, and when you look at it, it'll be like a box of dots, and that's how you know they're kind of aligned. And then I'll go through and connect them to make my snowflake. And then we just have polka dots, so I do a line of dots, and then on the sides I'll go in between those dots with the other set of dots. There's a sweater nail in this set, and I did ask her if she wanted matte or glossy, and she mentioned she wanted glossy, so I went ahead and top coat while I was doing the holly. That way the next nail after the holly can be the sugaring of the sweater nail. So for my sweater nail, I'm taking that same blue and I'm drawing the design with that same blue gel, and then I'll go and sugar over with a clear acrylic. This is basically how I always do my sweater nails. I'll use the same gel color that I put as the base, and then I sugar it with a clear acrylic. And the real trick to a sweater nail is pour, pour, and when you think you're done pouring, pour some more. Something about pouring over and over on the acrylic for a while just gives a better like lifted texture to that sweater nail, and it's going to give a really nice look to the nail. And that's it. I'm finishing her up with some cuticle oil, and this is the finished set. I think it came out so cute, still Christmassy like I said, but without being overly done. Next client usually does come in a little bit longer in between appointments, so when she does come in for her appointment, I usually have to do a big rebalance, so I will debulk more for her sets. And on top of needing to rebalance and debulk, her nails grow upwards, so I'll usually have to kind of accommodate to that type of nail growth and make sure her rebalance fixes that as well. You see it a lot on her thumb. I think her thumb has like the most upward growth. As she goes so long in between appointments, we're usually shortening them and, like I said, rebalancing them, but kind of getting her back to her normal length, and then they'll grow out in between appointments, and we kind of just like do this shorten, like I said. And like I said, you can tell on that thumb that how it slopes up, so I do try to be careful about working around that. This client also likes a very particular shape. She's actually one of my first clients that has ever told me to shape her nails like this, but the way I basically shape her nails is doing a rounded shape, and then when I get to the like length and roundness that I want, I will just ever so slightly flatten that top as you see right here, and then I'll just smooth out if there's like corners, because she doesn't want corners. She wants it more rounded than square, but she doesn't want rounded completely. She wants that like flat tip top. So yeah, that's basically how I shape her nails. So I do shape them every time before I start applying the gel because of this specific shape. Same prep, scrub down with alcohol, apply Valentino, or V Beauty, sorry, they used to go by Valentino, V Beauty dehydrator, and then the Orally primer, and go in with my Orally builder in a bottle. And like I mentioned, because I had to rebalance and debulk her so much, I did go in with one thin layer of the builder, and then I had her cure that for a full 60 seconds. And then I went through every nail and did my slip layer with my builder gel bead on top. And in case you are wondering, I'm using the Brittany Tokyo liner. I did show this in my last video. It is the liner that I use for my designs, but it is also the same liner that I use for my builder gel when I'm like evening everything out. I'm evening that uh, builder bead to kind of smooth into the rest of the nail into my slip layer. And I also love this little fast cure lamp that I'll do in between each nail before I have her put in for a full cure in the big lamp. It is a foot pedal uh, activated lamp. I don't know, I'm losing my words, but basically the way it turns on is there's a foot pedal under my desk and I use my foot to turn it on, which is the easiest thing for me. I absolutely love it. And the design that we're going for today was like a green cat eye that had like hidden pine leaves into the design. So I did go in with like this deeper green. I feel like it's a very like Christmassy green gel as my base, and I believe I only did one coat, so I made sure that it was an even application coat and that it was all the way to my edges because I wasn't going to be applying a second one to really perfect it. I needed that first layer to be good. And then I went in with a green cat eye. It does have like a little bit more silver um, cat eye pieces to it, but I moved the magnet and kind of really focused the magnetic particles in the middle. And then I went in with my liner brush, nothing on my liner brush, and I went through and added like these little pine leaf uh, designs into the gel and then put it in to cure for the 60 seconds to hold that design in. Once I did that design on all the nails, I went through and added matte top coat because we are going to be adding a little bit of chrome isolation on top of this. So I'll do a matte top coat, cure for 60 seconds, and then I'll spray 70% alcohol on top of the nails and I'll wipe them with a lint-free wipe. And then I'll go in with my black gel to do my design. We were just adding little sporadic dots into the design, into the like leaves, and then we'll cure that for 60 seconds and then rub on our gold chrome. I don't think I showed any of the top coats for these designs, but I did add a thin layer of the builder on top of those dots because chrome is kind of finicky, and then I top coated it as normal. And I think this was like a really nice simple set, again like Christmassy without being Christmassy. I don't know, it just came out really cute. And what do you know, my third client was another builder gel set. She is one of my longest builder gel nails, so she does have like that natural curve that your nails will have, but I do try to rebalance and file the underneath to make sure that it's not gonna start curving too much. She does go in between like keeping the length and then shortening them, so I believe we didn't really shorten this time. I just went ahead and shaped and, like I said, made sure that I'm kind of focusing on rebalancing, focusing on making sure her sidewalls are okay and that the bottom isn't curving too much. So I will file from the underneath with like a just my flat file. But I'm just taking off her previous gel, trying not to get too close to the edges because I will be going in with my sanding band as you see here and cleaning up that last little bit of colored gel so that I'm not filing too much with the carbide bit near her natural nail. Since this day was being filmed as like a full day of Watch Me Work, I had to speed up the clips a lot so that it wouldn't be like a 2-hour video of watching me do 4 sets. But let me know, do you guys want a video that's like just one nail set and slowed down and more in-depth and detailed, or do you kind of like these more full days and sped up videos? You guys let me know. I I think because I was like just taking little clips, I was really trying to figure out like my angles as you see here. Um so I don't know. I think if I did like a just one nail set, I would have a little bit better leeway to kind of set the camera in one angle and then leave it as is. But obviously I'm working in between clients, so I had to like keep moving the angle of the camera as well. So I don't know. Like I said, I just wanted to start filming these because I kept saying I was gonna do a in-depth watch me work, and just was never coming, but I'm like, you know what, I need to just start somewhere. Because of this client's natural length with the builder gel, I don't debulk from the top too much. I mostly debulk from the bottom to make sure I'm like fixing that natural curve of her nail. So I don't go in with that one layer. Like I said, I just go in with my slip layer, and then I'll do my bead and smooth that out with my liner brush. And then we were doing like a darker cat eye look, so I went in with a black jelly. I didn't want to go in with a total full black polish just because I didn't want it to be really, really dark like that last set. I wanted it to just have a little tint of darkness. And then I go in with my cat eye. This is kind of more of like a smoother metallic cat eye, not so much of like a glittery cat eye like the last set. I will do my design with my magnet and then just do a quick cure with that same flash cure lamp that has the foot pedal, and I'll do that in between each nail, and then when I finish the hand I'll put it in for a full 60-second cure. I basically do that little flash just to hold the cat eye design in place while I'm working on the next nail without having to switch hands back and forth to do pinky pinky ring ring, you know what I mean? Like, I just get one whole hand done and then move on to the next one and make sure that the full cure after uh, each hand is done. And then once the cat eye is completely done on each hand, we went in with this dark red jelly on top. I think these came out so nice. Like, it just has like a such like a melted red cat eye look to them. This red gel is from V Beauty. And then if I'm doing any mistakes, I really try to be careful with my red, because red is just one of those colors like black and white that once you get in the cuticle, it's really, really hard to clean up. So I don't know if I showed it too much here, but sometimes when I do red sets, I'll do 2 nails at a time on each hand and then switch to the other hand so that it's not leading to spillage in the cuticle. Just look how pretty these look though. And my last set of the day was an acrylic fill. She had this brown cat eye that I made matte, and then I did a design on top with clear top coat, and it was really, really pretty. But we're doing a like very extensive Christmas set on her. She kind of wanted like full on Christmas design on every nail, which it had been a while since we had done like a really big design, so we're like, oh, we're ending the year with a bang for this set for sure. She does usually come in every 4 weeks, so I just make sure to focus on that rebalance, making sure her nails are all good, working on my prep. And I believe we did shorten these nails, so I didn't get it in a clip, but I did shorten them with my 501 bit, and then just going on to prep. And I do use Valentino, my bad, again, I'm telling you, V Beauty's dehydrator and their primer, and then I also use their monomer, and I always fill or do all my full sets and fill unless otherwise asked with the V Beauty's Glamorous Nude. I think this nude is just like the perfect nude to use on all clients and skin tones, and it's like the prettiest with the background for like French or design or anything like that. And for the most part, I usually do a 2 bead method for my fills, so I'll use kind of a smallish medium bead at that new growth cuticle area, and then I'll get a more small bead, I would say, and push it from the tip up to the cuticle and then blend that out of the tip, just to kind of make that seamless blend from that first bead to the rest of the nail. It's crazy because I think at this point we were talking about how she has had an acrylic set with me for, I want to say, like 8 years now, which is crazy to think about. Um, but yeah, we've basically just always been doing fills. We couldn't remember the last time we had done a full set. I mean, I do remember the first couple appointments that she would come in with me. That was like during the craze of like adding encapsulated anything and everything. So I think during that time there was probably like a couple fresh sets just because we didn't want to keep that like colored or glittered acrylic encapsulated in the nail. But once I switched to doing my nails to like basically the glamorous nude acrylic and then painting all my designs on it, I don't think we've done a full set on her in a long time. But after I finish my acrylic application, I'm just gonna go in and file shape the nails with my hand file. I do like to use a 100/180 grit file. I think it's the perfect amount of grit. Like the 100 is perfect for shaping, and then the 180 is perfect for just refining my shape and buffing out anything that I need to buff out. And I stopped using a buffer after my filing step a long time ago. I just go in with my 5-in-1 extra fine, I believe. It's either fine or extra fine um, bit, and I'll just go through the cuticle, make it flush, and then I'll run it over the entire nail to kind of get rid of that like those inner indentations of that the hand file can leave behind. This does give me like a really nice smooth application for my gel, but like not too smooth, because sometimes I would find when I would use my buffer I would leave it too smooth and then it would give the gel a hard time to adhere naturally to the acrylic without using a gel base. Sometimes, depending on the design, I will still use a gel base top coat, my bad, a base coat to kind of like really perfect my adhesion, especially with OPI gels. I find no matter what, I always have to use a base gel with OPI gels to make sure that they're gonna be really on there. Okay, so this set, like I said, had a lot of design going on. It was a red and pink and like light green set going on. The inspo was from a press-on set made by Bold and Brushed Nails. But we took inspo from it, but it's not the exact set that she saw. But basically, I am doing the ring and index finger the same with these stripes, and then there'll be like a kind of white frame looking thing on top. And for the middle nail, I did notice that behind the design there was like these hidden snowflakes, so I had the same green and I mixed a little bit of white to lighten it, and then I did the snowflakes the same way I did the snowflakes on the last set, added my dots, drew the lines through, but I feel like just changing that green a little bit made it noticeable but still kind of hidden, because like I said, it was like almost the background for the design. Since I did have dots in that design, I added base coat to kind of smooth that over since I was going to do a design on top of those snowflakes. For the pinky, there's like a little kind of collar to the, or like almost like icing kind of to the cuticle area. Honestly, for the pinky, we couldn't decide what it was supposed to be, but it looked cute with the rest of the design. So, like I mentioned, the middle nail had design on top of those snowflakes. So, I tried to make sure you could still see the snowflakes, but also pretend like they weren't there so I could draw the design on top. Um, that way it's supposed to look like a background, if that makes sense. We added the little holly. I added little details to the uh, leaves on that holly, and then we added a bow, and on the bow there's like a white detail as well, so I basically outlined it twice. Sometimes I feel like bows can be so easy for me some days, and then other days I'm like, why am I struggling so much with these? But I basically try to do like a sideways teardrop, and then depending on how I'm feeling that day, if I think the bow is gonna cooperate with me, I will do the full bow in one go, or when I feel like I'm like, you know what, I just want to be careful, I'll do the little teardrop looking part of the bow first and then cure that and then go back and do the little ribbons that come falling out of it. That way the gel isn't pulling too much in the middle center of the bow where like everything connects. And as I mentioned, these striped nails have this like white frame looking thing. This was like the best way my brain could like try to make each one symmetrical. So I basically tried to do 3 dots on the side so that I could have like these 3 little curves or humps to go by, and then connecting at the top with like a little ice cream dollop and the same thing at the bottom. I'm really hoping these shapes make sense to you, but and then after I did all the connecting, I went through and kind of refined any parts of the sides that I felt like needed a little bit more like lump and hump to it, if you will. And then we put that in for a full 60-second cure, and then I went through and outlined each one with white as well, just to kind of still give it like that better frame look. And then we move on to the thumb. The thumb is a ornament, but it's like one of those really funky shape ornaments. So I started out by doing a circle and filling it in and just like really perfecting my shape of that first. And then without curing that, I went in and did like a oval underneath and like did my best to not touch too much because I knew that the gels were gonna start bleeding and I did need them to look connected, but I didn't want it to like pull too much. So I did a oval and then I brought the 2 sides of that oval into a point and then made like a little indentation on the top of that circle to like make like a little faux connection of like where you would hang the ornament. And then I went in with a green gel on top of that and just made like these little drop designs, which basically I just had like a drop of gel on my paintbrush and then kind of swiped it down to give that kind of look. And then I outlined it with a darker green on all of those lines. I did add a little red circle on that bottom, or not red, sorry, pink circle on that little bottom. I didn't show it, but we added like these little red lines to the design on top of that pink circle. And then I went in with like these red side pieces on the outside of the ornament. Basically doing that same like add a drop of polish to my liner and then drag it out. And then I went back to the pinky and did a pink circle, and then I go and add like that same thing of like adding a drop to the liner brush and pulling it down. I went in a circle around that in order to kind of get the best circle and like evenness. I tried to do a cross, so like I'll do top, bottom, side, side, diagonal, diagonal, and kind of go through like that to kind of make it a little bit more even. And then I had little red dots on the design on each of these like little lines. So I did use my liner brush to kind of make those dots because using a dotter or like a dotting tool, it was gonna give me too big of a dot. As you see, the bigger dot that I put in the middle is with the liner brush, so or with the dotting tool. Oh my gosh. Um, and then I went in and added like these little green dots. I think at this point we were going back and forth as to what to put into those white frames. So I went through and added my gold detailing. Normally I do like to do my gold detailing with gold chrome, but every once in a while when it's like just really small details, or if I don't want to add like a lot of layers and texture to the nail and like really bulk up that nail with gel, I will just use like this gold gel that I have. So I just went through and added like little detailings like these dots. I believe I did some bows with this, and then I think I used a glittery gold as well and added like finery details. Like I believe on the thumb there's a glittery gold dot that goes in between the like red side lines that I added to frame the ornament. There we go. Yep, that's like so yeah, just adding like those little details because she was trying to look for what we were gonna add into those frames, which we ended up going with a Christmas tree and a stocking. So for my Christmas tree, I went in with a lighter green and kind of really feathered out my lines in order to kind of make like a nice fluffy tree shape. Uh, Trying not to be like too meticulous with this because I knew that the dark green on top was gonna give the tree more shape, but I did want to have like a good base to this. I did go in with a dark green on top of this and did that same kind of motion of like adding a little green dot to the tip of my liner brush and then putting it down and dragging it out so that it kind of gives me like that nice little swoop and flick looking design. And this kind of added like that layering to that tree. And then I went in and added my little ornaments on there with the gold gel. And then on the stocking, I did the toe and the heel first because I was using a lighter color and I didn't want to do like the whole stocking outline and then not be able to do a lighter color on top because you would see that color underneath. I hope that's making sense. I feel like you can tell right here with the red, like the red is gonna cover up that light green a lot easier than the green would cover up that red. So yeah, that's basically how I did this full design. I'm just adding little details to my stocking, but I did go through all these nails and put a layer of a thin layer of builder gel on top, the Orly builder gel, just to really seal in all these designs because there's a lot of dots and gel and gold gel that like to kind of come up. So I did top coat after that. This is the full look. I hope you guys enjoyed this full day of watch me work, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.